All right, everyone. Get ready for a deep dive today into something pretty fundamental.
Yeah.
Respiration.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's one of those GCSE biology, biggies, and we're going to explore how everything, you know, gets the energy to actually, be alive.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening right now as we speak.
Is it really?
Yeah, in every cell in your body. And in every living thing on the planet, from the tiniest bacteria to the biggest whales.
Amazing to think about.
Right, and it's not just breathing like a lot of people think. It's how we get energy from the food that we eat.
So it's like our cells each have like a tiny little power plant. Yeah.
Exactly. They're burning fuel to release energy.
And the fuel is, what was it again? I remember learning this in GCSE.
Usually it's glucose,
Glucose, right?
which is a simple sugar. You can think of it kind of like the gasoline for your cells.
Okay, so the cells break down the glucose, and then they have all this energy.
Yes, and they use that energy for pretty much everything they do.
Okay, but what do they do with it? I mean, it's not like they're, running around, are they?
Well, in a way, they need energy for muscle contraction, building new proteins, sending signals between nerves, all sorts of things.
So all the things that keep us alive and functioning.
Yeah, all of that requires energy from respiration.
And that energy is stored how?
It gets stored in a special molecule called ATP.
Oh, ATP. Yeah, I remember that from GCSE.
Yeah, it stands for adenosine triphosphate, but most people just call it ATP.
Okay, so that's like the cell's little energy wallet.
It's like their energy currency.
So we eat, our body breaks down the food into glucose. The cells use the glucose to make ATP, and then the ATP powers all those cellular processes.
Exactly. It's a pretty neat system.
It is. So there's just one way this energy extraction happens.
Well, actually, there are two main ways, with oxygen and without oxygen.
Okay, so one with oxygen, one without.
Yes. The one with oxygen is called aerobic respiration, and the one without oxygen is called anaerobic respiration.
Ah, I see. So it's like the cells have a backup generator for when the oxygen runs out.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, let's start by talking about aerobic respiration, since that's the most common way that our cells get energy.
Okay, aerobic respiration. What do we need to remember about that?
Well, the basic process is combining glucose with oxygen to make carbon dioxide and water, and then releasing energy along the way.
Oh, yeah, that rings a bell. I think I vaguely remember that equation from my textbook.
Yeah, it's glucose plus oxygen yields carbon dioxide and water.
I remember. And this is all happening inside the cell, right?
Yeah, but not just anywhere in the cell. It happens in a specific part called the mitochondria.
The mitochondria. Right, so that's where the magic happens?
You could say that the mitochondria are like the powerhouses of the cell.
So if they're the powerhouses, would that mean that cells that need a lot of energy, like muscle cells, would have more mitochondria?
Exactly. Muscle cells are packed with mitochondria because they need a constant supply of energy to keep contracting.
Wow, so that's why they need so much oxygen.
Exactly. They need oxygen for aerobic respiration to keep those mitochondria running.
It all makes sense now. Okay, so aerobic respiration, that's the main show. And it needs oxygen. What about when there's no oxygen around?
Well, that's when anaerobic respiration comes into play.
Okay, so anaerobic is like the backup plan.
Yeah, exactly. It's what happens when your muscles are working really hard and they can't get enough oxygen to keep up with aerobic respiration.
Like when you're sprinting.
Yeah, like when you're doing a really intense workout and you get that burning sensation in your muscles.
Yeah, and you're breathing hard like you're trying to catch your breath.
Yeah, that's because your body is trying to get more oxygen to your muscles so they can switch back to aerobic respiration.
I always wondered what caused that burning feeling.
It's actually a buildup of lactic acid, which is a byproduct of anaerobic respiration in animals.
So lactic acid is the culprit.
Yeah, it's what makes your muscles feel tired and sore after a hard workout.
Okay, so in us, anaerobic respiration makes lactic acid. I remember learning that some organisms don't even need oxygen to survive, though, right?
That's right. There are some organisms like yeast that thrive in environments without oxygen, and they use anaerobic respiration as their primary way of getting energy.
So they don't make lactic acid.
Nope, they make something a little more enjoyable.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
They produce alcohol and carbon dioxide.
Wait a minute, alcohol and carbon dioxide? So the same process that makes my muscles burn also makes beer.
You got it. And bread, too.
Whoa. That's amazing.
It is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, so those tiny little yeast cells are working hard making alcohol and carbon dioxide, and we get to enjoy the results.
Exactly. That's the magic of anaerobic respiration.
Wow. I never realized how important and how diverse respiration is.
Yeah, it's a fundamental process that drives life on Earth.
We've covered the basics of aerobic and anaerobic respiration. But what else should we know about this amazing process that keeps us going? What about, like, the factors that affect how fast respiration happens?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's not like respiration just happens at the same rate all the time. Well, it's affected by things like temperature and pH.
Temperature and pH, right? Those are important for all sorts of biological processes. I remember doing experiments with those back in GCSE.
Yeah, those experiments really help you understand how sensitive enzymes are.
Enzymes, right?
Yeah.
They control all the chemical reactions in respiration.
Exactly. And they need the right conditions to work properly.
It's like they need the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold, not too acidic, not too alkaline.
Yeah, exactly. If the temperature is too high or too low, the enzymes can get denatured, which means they lose their shape and can't function properly.
So it's like cooking. If you overheat something, it gets ruined.
Exactly. And the same thing can happen to enzymes if the pH is too far off from their optimal range.
So we need to keep those enzymes happy if we want respiration to happen efficiently.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
all about creating the right environment for those tiny little workers. And for those of you out there prepping for your GCSEs, there's another piece of the respiration puzzle we should touch on.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's something that often trips students up, the whole respiration versus gas exchange thing.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Respiration and gas exchange always sounded so similar.
They do, right? But it's important to remember they're distinct processes.
Okay, so remind me, what's the key difference?
Well, respiration, like we've been discussing, is all about releasing energy from those food molecules happening right inside the cell.
Okay, inside the cell. Got it. And what about gas exchange?
Gas exchange, on the other hand, is about swapping those gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide, out.
Ah, okay, so respiration is like the main event, the energy party, and then gas exchange is like making sure the right guests are coming and going.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, bringing in the oxygen and kicking out the carbon dioxide.
Okay, so where does this gas exchange happen?
It all goes down in the lungs.
The lungs, right?
Yeah, that's where oxygen from the air diffuses into our bloodstream and carbon dioxide from the blood diffuses out into the air to be exhaled.
So it's like a two-way street for gases happening in our lungs thanks to diffusion.
Exactly.
And why is this gas exchange so important?
Well, it all comes back to respiration, remember? We need that oxygen for aerobic respiration, and we need to get rid of the carbon dioxide that's produced as a byproduct.
So we breathe to fuel respiration, and respiration makes us breathe out. It's a pretty amazing cycle.
It really is. It all works together so beautifully.
I'm so glad we had this deep dive today. I feel like I've learned so much about respiration and how it connects to everything else in our bodies.
Me too. It's a reminder of how incredible and interconnected life really is.
From the tiniest cells to the way we breathe, it all works together to keep us going.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up, any final thoughts for our listeners out there?
I just encourage everyone to take a moment to appreciate the wonder of it all. All those tiny cells inside you working tirelessly, powered by the energy released through respiration.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
And remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore about this fascinating world of biology.
So keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep those mitochondria humming. This is The Deep Dive signing off.